everyone, and welcome back to The Upside. As you know, our channel is all about looking for the upside to life's challenges. Now, one of the major challenges that we are dealing with is infertility. If you haven't watched our videos, please subscribe and like our videos so that you can follow our journey and keep up with everything that's going on in our life. Dealing with infertility is obviously incredibly challenging. It can make you feel very alone and it's often very difficult. But in today's video, I thought I'd share some of the ideas that I use to get through some of the difficult parts of this journey and that just help me to cope with the entire thing. Obviously, everyone's story is different, so I'm not trying to say that this is the ultimate set of secrets that you will use and that will ultimately make you happy and help you sail through infertility. That would be silly to say that. So without further ado, here are my 5 tips for dealing with infertility. I know everyone is different and your personality might be completely different to mine, but I like talking about what I'm going through. It helps me to think, it helps me to process. Maybe you could use something like writing or writing fiction or poetry, but I think the ultimate message here is, for me, it helps to get my feelings out. The first port of call is always my husband when it comes to people. I think one thing that helps us a lot in our marriage, in our relationship, and also on this journey to parenthood is just checking in regularly to make sure that we're on the same page, and if not, to give one another space to just feel what you're feeling and to be where you are in the process. So I talk to Francois often about this, he talks to me, we just ask each other, how do you feel, what do you think we should do next, how did you experience this, and it really helps you to know that even if you feel alone in terms of your friends and people around you that are blessed with children, you are not alone on this journey. There are 2 of you. That's what helps for me. And obviously, if you talk about this often when it comes to making decisions in terms of fertility treatment and so forth, you already know where the other person stands. So that helps a lot in terms of going through the motions and just checking in with him, knowing how he feels, so that we can also support each other. When one is feeling high, one is feeling low, then you can at least be there for the other person. Being totally honest, sometimes it's very difficult to pray because you kind of feel that God doesn't hear your prayers or that He doesn't listen to you, even though I know rationally that it doesn't make sense. When those hormones come in, all is fair game. So even though I find it difficult to pray sometimes and to talk about it with God, I try my best. Even if it's a negative emotion, I talk to Him. Even if I feel that I'm disappointed in Him or whatever serious feeling I'm feeling, I think it's important to keep the communication going. Even if it's negative, even if you feel down and out, I think that God wants to hear about it and He wants to be involved in whatever you're going through. That's what helps me to keep the communication going with my husband through prayer and then obviously with friends and family. The second thing I do is actually to be patient with myself, or at least I try my best to give myself some time and space. I mean, every month if you're trying to conceive and it doesn't work, it's a major disappointment. And then obviously along with that, ladies, you know, then it's that time of the month and you feel extra vulnerable and extra emotional. So a practical thing that I do is, I know this might sound very silly, but what I do is I put on a piece of jewelry, whether it's a ring or specific earrings or a bracelet or a necklace or whatever it might be, and then every day while I'm wearing that piece of jewelry, it's a physical reminder to just, when I look at that, I just think, you know what? This is a big disappointment, this is difficult, plus you are on your period. So it's okay to feel this way. So I give myself space to just get all of the emotions, all of the terrible thoughts thoughts in my head out, and then once I start feeling okay, now my hormones are normalizing again, I take off the jewelry and I continue as usual. It's kind of just a space in time that I give myself where I'm more patient with myself, to be more forgiving, and just to allow myself to feel terrible, even if it's just for a day or two. The third thing that I try to tell myself is that the truth remains the truth. Yes, there are many things that are very subjective on this journey, and everyone has their own opinion and perspective on infertility and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. But at the end of the day, there is such a thing as truth. So what I mean by this is you don't always want to hear certain pieces of advice. Like, for instance, you're still young, you still have a lot of time. For a very long time, I wasn't open to that piece of advice because I was impatient and I had all of these other things going on. We actually made a video about that. I'll put that in the description and you can go see exactly what was going on during our whole fertility journey for a major part of it. But if someone tells you you're still young, you still have a lot of time, I mean, at the moment I'm 31 years old, and even though I've been wanting to be a mother for a few years now, the fact is there is still time. So obviously people don't always know what to say and how to help you and what pieces of advice they should give you, but I try to appreciate people who are trying to be honest with me, and even though they are just stating the facts and it's not something that you want to hear, the truth adds up. Because one day when you are more level-headed and you can look at things more objectively or from a distance, you realize that it is the truth. Many of the things that people tell you and pieces of advice that they try to give you, at the end of the day, it is true. And actually it being repeated from different people, it helps to sink in. So don't just dismiss people's advice because it's not convenient. That's what I try to do. I try to look at advice over a prolonged period of time, and I try to remind myself what is the truth and to really stand on that, because at the end of the day you can't change the truth. The fourth thing I do is really to try and ask myself as often as possible, what makes me happy? And this is a difficult one because I'm sure many of you do this as well, and you've tried it but it's not always as successful. But the fact of the matter is, having a husband, having a house, having a job, having children aren't things that can really make you happy. Yes, they can contribute to it, and it's normal to have those dreams and ideals and vision for the future, but at the end of the day, if you can't be happy with exactly what you have, then I don't think you'll ever be happy. So I try to tell myself as often as possible, having children will come with its own set of challenges, and although it's something that I dream about and I can't wait for it to happen, I know that there will be many things that will also be challenging and difficult. I really hope that this vlog can one day change into a parenting vlog, or a pregnancy vlog at least. How awesome would that be? I don't know how much of this is true, but recently on the radio I heard that there was a handwritten note from Albert Einstein that was sold for I don't know how many millions of dollars. And it's actually, the story goes that it's a note that he wrote right after he heard that he won the Nobel Prize. And the note, if translated, it translates into something like, achieving a life's dream does not bring you happiness. Because as soon as he heard the news, he thought about it and he felt exactly the same. So it's this great, massive honor to win the Nobel Prize. And I've often also heard that celebrities in Hollywood, once they win the Grammy and the Oscar and the Tony and I don't know what else, they kind of feel very disappointed because it's something that you work towards, but once you get there you feel exactly the same, and then you just want the next thing or something else or something different. So that actually struck me, and I tried to take that in and to be really open to that idea that once I hear that I'm pregnant, or if we are fortunate enough to have children, then it's not like it's going to change absolutely everything in terms of my happiness. If I'm not able to be happy with what I have and where I am, and have just normal dreams for the future, then I think it will be this continuous race of just chasing after something and the next thing, and never really enjoying and appreciating what you have. So if you are struggling with infertility, I'm not trying to say that it's not a valid dream, or that you shouldn't want it, or that it won't make you happy, because obviously we want to be parents for a reason. But I'm just saying, what I do and what really helps me is to know that this might be everything that I'll ever have, and I'm not going to spend this time chasing something and not being in the moment, if that makes sense. The last thing that really helps me is kind of a very, very recent development, and that is that I always thought about this journey as having a beginning and a middle and an end. So something that you work towards, like other things in life, and then you get there. And I've recently actually thought about this and realized that dealing with infertility and trying to conceive is, we know it's an up and down, up and down, up and down process. It's kind of a roller coaster ride, to use that cliche. But I've realized that what would really help me is if I can truly master the art of starting over. So every cycle is a new adventure, it's a new opportunity, and you actually start all over again. Not only with your cycles and trying to conceive in the biological side of it, but also emotionally. So starting over and over again can be really exhausting, and it is. I'm not trying to say that doing this takes that away, because every cycle is different and has its own set of challenges. But I think if you can think about it this way, that it's okay to start all over again. It's okay to start from scratch. I've tried to be forgiving towards myself if I had certain emotions and certain feelings in certain parts of this journey, and now I don't want to feel them again, or I'm going to try to do it differently this time. That's okay. So starting over is truly a special skill, and if you just think about it that way, that you are mastering this art, and it's okay to think about it from a new point of view and to start over, because actually you aren't going to change the nature of this journey, so you might as well embrace it and try to take the best parts out of it and just to run with that. If I had to make a video about all the terrible, awful, disappointing, sad things about infertility, that video would be hours and hours and hours long. So I'm not trying to say that this isn't something very difficult, and on the contrary, it doesn't ever go away. But through sharing some of the things that I do, some of the things that I try, I really hope that it makes a difference, and that somebody watches this video and can take one thing or one idea from this video, and that it really helps them on this difficult journey of wanting to become parents. Something that we think will be so automatic and so easy once we've grown up and married, and then you get there and you have a set of very unexpected, awful challenges. I don't always get it right. Actually, I fail very often. But even though I don't always know how to deal with this, and I don't always know what to do, I will never stop trying, and I will never stop sharing what is going on in my life, because I really want to make a difference in yours. Even if you are watching this video and you are following our infertility journey and it has nothing to do with you, I really hope that if you ever face a different challenge, that you can look at us and that you can feel feel less alone. That's really one of my ultimate goals, because we go on Facebook, we go on Instagram, we go on all of these social media, we chat to people, and it seems like they just have everything together, and we all have our own challenges. But I really feel very strongly about the fact that if you are in a specific situation and you are facing challenges that you feel are very difficult, there is an upside. I don't know where, I don't know how, and I don't know when you are going to discover it, but I would like to encourage you to look for the upside, to look for the positive things that you can take out of these terrible things that we sometimes have to face, and then not to keep that for yourself, but to really talk to people, because then you make them feel less alone, and ultimately we could be there for each other and learn from each other. I really hope you have a great day and that this video helped you in some way. Bye!